Hi, this is Jim, and this is Second Chance, a Moped podcast. And welcome everybody to another week of Second Chance, a Moped podcast. Yes, we're here. We're in the basement. And guess what? It's still in Minnesota. Can't take it anymore. It should be over with. Okay, I'm freaking out a little bit here, but that's okay. I'm excited, dude. Everybody's excited about the Daggers rally coming up. I guess I think he's coming with some people. I'll ramble about myself a little bit, but I love how Sean went full Brapper status on Facebook today. Yeah, Sean, I'm calling you out on this. Like, you don't posted to every single moped group I'm in, and I love it because I see just this line of Sean like Daggers present. Yeah, it's awesome. Everybody's excited. I also got a thing which I think is really cool. They're doing this. The Casserolers new leadership is really doing a great job of being welcoming and more inviting. I'm seeing. They're including people in a meeting, which is not only for club members, because it was very exclusive for a long time. And me, I'm always an oddball, kind of doing my own thing anyways, but I'm gonna show up to that open to the public type of meeting. I think they're talking about their plans for Nashville, and I guess they're gonna do a caravan thing going out to Mosquito Fleet Rally, sounds like, which is rad. I think I'm gonna end up at LGN that weekend just because I'm gonna go to LGN that weekend. Whatever. I mean, that's what's awesome about the rally calendar filling up. We're getting options again, and that's half the fun of it. I've really discovered is hurry up, get to the rally, have fun at the rally. But I like that decompression on the ride home. I figured this little trick out after going to the finish line. Hold on, folks. Got my coffee in. I figured out this little deal. If you can do it for a bit on your way home from the rally and you got time, hit avoid highways. I got to see a part of the country in the Smoky Mountains. It was just, I never would have saw if I would have been on the highway thing, and I did that by mistake. But other than that, but I did that on the way home from Santa Fe for 5-6 hours. I took avoid highways and I saw some beautiful, absolutely gorgeous scenery in different part of America I never would have saw. So just like I said, if you got time, I'm gonna be taking I already told them I'm taking Friday and Monday off from work. Speaking of which, I can't stare at any of my moped projects for too long because I'm never gonna be happy with it. And this Baker's Dozen bike that I started last year, didn't get it all together, so I didn't do it, and it's been sitting on the stand for basically a year. Well, I start working on it full. I was 85% done. I was telling people, nope, it's not. I start cutting stuff apart, start redoing how I did the gas tank. I'm thinking about redoing how the motor. I hit a few friends up today, Shane and Lee. Shane Johnson, I'm Shane, you gotta come over and talk me out of fucking cutting this bike apart. He's like, dude, it'll be fine. Just do what your initial plans were. So because that's just how I am. But speaking of Baker's Dozen and people who participated in it, our guest this week, his sons participated, and I think Mr. Greg drove chase for him. But I'll just have you introduce yourself right now, my guy.
Hi, I'm Greg Clark. I'm the father of most of the Clarks that work in the moped business. Live in Manchester, Michigan, not too far from my son Dylan and my son Andrew and my son Levi. I have a son Joshua in Chicago, and he also is a diehard mopeder too. He actually rides his probably more than any of us put together because he rides his to work.
Yeah. I imagine in the summertime that's way more convenient in an urban environment like Chicago.
For sure, yeah, for sure.
Parking's a lot easier too, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right on. So, Greg, here on Second Chance Moped Podcast, we go through people's moped journey, i.e., the very first time they saw mopeds, the smile ride and whatnot. And yours is gonna be, I don't want to prep it. Anyways, so Greg, why don't you tell us the first time you can conceptually remember seeing a moped? Not necessarily getting on, but like the first time you can like understand, hey, that's a moped. Like, what was the first time you really remember seeing that?
I think honestly, it was when my son Levi brought a moped home from his future father-in-law.
Hmm.
It was his father-in-law's that he bought brand new in 77. It was a
Okay.
Coupe Maxi. I mean, I grew up in the 70s, but I never remember seeing that. I was more motorcycle, you know.
Okay.
So I really don't remember seeing mopeds when I was young.
Hmm.
Not even I don't even remember if scooters were a thing back then. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it was mostly muscle cars and girls. So
Yeah, dude, I totally get it. Yeah. Yeah. Where
yeah,
did you
yeah.
grow up?
I grew up in near Belleville, Michigan. It's a small town. It's I'm thinking I'm going to say northwest of Detroit.
Okay. So yeah, totally makes sense. And I always try to make the puzzle pieces fit together. Like,
Mhm,
and that
mhm.
totally makes sense. Like, you're just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Detroit, the Motor City. I mean, of
Yep.
course, nobody's gonna care about these dumb little two-wheel. I mean, they're giving Camaros out for like graduation. I mean, it was
Oh
just
yeah.
dealing them out, right?
Yep, 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 for sure. Yeah, it was kind of a rural area too that I grew up in, so definitely started out on mini bikes and
Hmm.
then went to smaller motorcycles and then other motorcycles. And my first vehicle I rode back and forth to work was a motorcycle because I
Awesome.
didn't have a car.
What
So
bike did you have?
it was a Suzuki TS 125.
Nice two-stroke.
Yes, two
Okay.
stroke. Yep. So it
Yeah.
started way back then.
Yeah, that was those old 125s are I give people a hard time about shifties, dude. I love all bikes. Like I love like even from big dresser Harleys, it's not my thing, but I can
Mhm,
appreciate them down
mhm.
to, a TX Tomos TX50. I love everything in between. Like
Yeah.
it's been so many years and a lot of head injuries, but like I've been on like old 125 dirt bikes and like those things
Mhm.
are they're the key. I always like my thing always is like the difference between like a 250 and a 125. Like a 250, it's powerful, and
Right.
like
Right.
a 125 is snappy quick. Like it
Yep.
will surprise you, and that's what like that's yeah, that's kind of some of the reason why I still don't want to get a shifty 50. Like I just like I may have dumped one or two, or maybe got knocked out. I don't
Oh
know. I
yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I fell off mine quite a bit.
Yep.
Yep. But like I was 15 riding that back and forth to work. So
That's so awesome.
on the roads, yeah. I mean, the it's interesting the amount of stuff that you have to go through for a cycle endorsement now
Hmm.
and then take the road test and all that stuff. When I had my road test I took it in Belleville, and it was probably about 20 bikes, and we rode around the block with a cop following us, and they said, "There you go, you're good."
That's
Yeah, it was a
so
little
awesome.
bit a little more lax back then,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah, that's I love those stories about how like just how and I think it's a good thing that people are safe and certified and
oh,
stuff
for
like that.
sure,
But
yeah,
like, because I've
yeah.
heard of stories like from my aunt Julie, her dad, like him saying, "Yeah, I just told my mom to go get me a driver's license." What? Like, and was like Don's like 90 something now. And it's just like he
Mhm.
went to a hardware store and got his effing driver. Like it was like you
That's
paid
insane.
$3, or it's just like what? Like okay,
Right.
yeah, that's so awesome.
Things were a
So
lot different back then.
oh, definitely, definitely. So you're I'm gonna try to keep them straight. I know Dylan the best.
Yep. He's my
And
youngest.
yep, and it was Will you said that came home. Who came home with a bike from his future father-in-law?
Levi.
Levi, I'm sorry.
Levi.
I'm
Yeah.
names terrible with faces, never forget. So Levi, like, and I'm a weird person for like dates and years. Like, do you remember like the year kind of this was?
It must have been probably, let's see, I think he's been married for like 6 years now.
Okay.
So uh like early 2000s.
Okay. Go.
Yeah.
I was gonna say if it, oh my god, 6 years, like You guys have fell in very deep, but you guys are deep into it. But
Oh
so how did the other brothers take it? I mean, or was it just something he brought back to your house and like you guys tinkered on? Like how was that whole progression?
yeah, he was probably out of college or near out of college by then. So he brought the bike to my house because he didn't have any place to store it where he was staying. He was living
Hmm.
in a co-op in at Michigan State. And so he brought that home, and I think Dylan was still living here. Um, and he brought it home, and we like gathered around and was like, "Whoa, that's cool!"
Hmm.
And so yeah, I mean that one bike just really kind of snowballed into the whole conglomerate of moped madness that we have going on here.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So how long did
Yep.
it take for some of the other boys or
Oh, I think we all had mopeds within 6 months.
nice.
You know,
That's
yeah, for sure, for sure. We actually got my son Joshua that lives in Chicago. We got him a moped for Christmas,
okay.
and he still says that's the greatest present that he's ever got.
I think yeah, I think that's pretty awesome because I mean, if he's anything like the rest of you guys, he's really submerged his life into the moped
Oh
and
yeah.
two
Mhm,
cycle world or two bike
mhm.
world, two wheel world. Jeez, I can't.
Right, right.
Long day at work. It was. I got signed up for Saturday. I'm just like mother.
Oh yeah, they asked
Yeah,
me today if I want to work Saturday. It's like
yeah,
whatever, you
yeah. It
know.
was. I told him pretty much. I'm like, it's not 60 degrees, so I'll come in. Like,
I'd rather do it now.
yep.
I'd rather
And
do it now.
yeah, we've got a new plant man. People don't care about me right now. We're gonna keep talking about you. Um, so you guys where are you guys finding these at this point? Is this like old Craigslist ad or like the local
Oh yeah.
paper
Yep.
or
Most of them from Craigslist. We bought we got Dylan's first Pinto, which he still has, from a guy, Craig Ferguson, up in Kalamazoo.
mm-hmm.
Got it from him. Not the shout out to him or anything, but
Mm-hmm.
bought it from him, and that was his first bike. And Andrew was living at a house over in Ypsilanti,
Okay.
and he bought I believe it was a motorbike, a yellow motorbike from his roommate that he was staying with or living with
Did
over
his
there.
roommate really not like him or something? No, French bikes.
Well, it was kind of in pieces. I don't know if it ever actually ran. In fact, I
Do
have a
any
picture.
French bikes actually run? That's no, I'm
They do. They
yeah.
do. They do. I have a picture in my toolbox with where we're all lined up, and his doesn't even have a motor on it, so we kind of put it towards the end that you couldn't see.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, mostly Craigslist. Then we got introduced to the Chad, so
Yeah.
we got to know him really good and went to a few of his things. And yeah, basically, then it got to be like if somebody was getting rid of it, they would call us if it was local around here.
Mhm.
Obviously, we don't get that kind of treatment in Kalamazoo or somewhere like that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
What was
yeah.
the okay, you talked about you guys all kind of getting bikes and stuff like that and
Mhm.
like where are you guys just trying to build stock stuff at this time? Are you getting into performance side like early days of mopeds? Like I'm just wondering how kind of the progression went for you guys.
Well, I think it started because it just wasn't fast enough.
Hmm.
They just this isn't going to be fast enough. There's no way.
Yeah.
So then we got turned on to Treatland,
Hmm.
and then it kind of snowballed from there as far as to get this kit. Okay, that kit don't like that one. Then buy another kit. Well, yeah, I like this one. What about that exhaust pipe? Yeah, I don't like that. And then buy this one. And we um all well, mostly Levi, Andrew, and Dylan, we all like look for deals
Oh
on
yeah.
parts. We never turn down parts. It's like
Yeah.
ammunition. You never turn down ammunition if it's a good deal,
Oh yeah.
because that's like today's thing is that's how it is. So with three of us constantly looking, we've garnered quite a collection of, I mean, stuff, not as big as some people's, but and we would trade parts back and forth.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, I think you guys probably have a healthy collection between the three boys and you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um.
yeah. I'm trying to
So
pare
oh,
down.
that's what everybody says, and then the next deal, and then the next deal, like that.
Right, that's true.
I
That
had
is true.
that. Who I was giving. I was talking about earlier that Shane Johnson, like he kind of. I always jokingly say he wrecked my life because I got, and it's a quick bike, but like I got it on it is it was just an '83 Hobbit with a
Mm,
DR, and a
okay.
Proma. So, but that was my
Yeah.
first kitted bike I ever jumped on. I was like, and that ruined my life. I always tell people, but like he hadn't been to my place for a year or so. Year no, probably since Rona basically. And he came over,
Okay.
picked up a pipe for me, and he pulled up. He's like, "Jim, you got a Hobbit in your flower bed, and you got one on the side of the garage." I'm like, "Yeah, I got one behind the garage. I got one in the basement." I go, "Yeah, I don't want to talk about it," but like they just
They
start.
tend to
They just
multiply, yeah.
yeah, it's like freaking Mogwai. You can't put water on them. But
Right, right, right. Well, if you have one, you gotta have two.
well,
That
yeah.
seems to be the way it goes, you
Hmm.
know. So yeah, and then performance wise, we would get the kits and you know, we'd go from 70, go up to 70 cc and then have the pipe and then uh carbs that you know went through a lot of carbs and intakes and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was that was before that we really started doing any like custom bikes.
Hmm.
You know, it was just pretty much off the shelf stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So but yeah, I mean it's always a question of how much more can I get out of it.
Yeah, that's always
Um,
the tuner's trick.
yeah.
You talked about Chad Burke's gatherings or something like that
Hmm.
a little bit ago. How was that first uh, let me rewind. What was your first time experiencing like moped culture other than like the nucleus of your family? Like first
Hey
rally
Chad.
or ride? Was it Chad
Yeah.
Burke's
Oh
Build
yeah.
Gather?
Yeah, I think we probably went to one of his building gathers. Um, and it was like, whoa, this is like ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then that kind of introduced us to it, you know, and it was for me, of course, I'm older, so it's a lot of young people.
Mm-hmm.
And usually I'm either the oldest or one of the oldest guys there, you know, but everybody's always very friendly and, you know, I always feel comfortable,
Yeah.
you know, going to those things because people are very personable to you and things like that. I don't think I've ever at any moped rally or gathering, I don't think I've ever seen a single fight that
No.
I that I can think of. You know, I mean, even and I've seen people pretty dang drunk at moped rallies, and still, it's like they're just not. There's no animosity there because they all have this core thing that they like.
Hmm.
You know, so it but yeah, that's my introduction to the moped culture was probably one of Chad's the first ones that we went to, the building gathers.
And that says something just for the moped community because like
Hmm.
nobody wants to mess this up. I mean,
Right.
sure mistakes happen and like
Hmm.
people
Hmm.
get into arguments because somebody did this or blah blah blah. But like
Right.
for the most part, like, and I've done that. I've stuck my foot in my mouth or did the wrong thing at the wrong time, and
Yeah.
I'd see that person who was like kind of involved with it, like the next thing. It's like there's no anxiety there. It's just like, you know what, that's in the past. Let's go forward.
Right.
And like,
Right. 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 Yep.
yeah. So you went to the Chadburg build and gather. Did you guys
Mhm.
actually build anything besides gathering? Or
No, it was just to get a, you know, see what's going on. Let's see what's
Mhm.
going on with this thing here.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I think, and I believe one of our first rallies we went to was the Salute Your Ports
Okay.
in South Haven,
Okay.
and boy, that was a trip.
I've heard some stories here and there from it. It was just like it was a rad time in
It
mopeds. And like,
was, yeah.
and I think I truly believe that you're gonna see this resurgence of people coming back or read or just discovering mopeds because like yeah, that's just me being the ultimate optimist
Oh yeah.
from this whole deal. Because
Hmm.
people are sick of being in their houses, and like that Daggers rally is going to be very big, and
Yep.
I've offered any help to those guys that, like, I don't care. Like, I'll just so you get if you guys need anything, just ask me. I'll go do it for you.
Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Well, I like to be a service to the community in my own weird ways, and like if I need to go get somebody out of the drunk tank, or or like go get another case of beer for somebody, it's no big deal to
Right,
me.
right,
Um,
right. They always
so
eat good at moped rallies, I'll tell you that.
don't you though? And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I can say I've never had a bad experience for at moped rallies for like whether it be drink, food, or dessert even. Like
Oh, right,
yeah,
right.
I was down in NOLA for
Mhm,
Halloween, and I went down the mono ride, and Scott, oh my goodness, that guy, he's a moped guy, and he did the pulled pork barbecue, and it was freaking awesome. Like, and he did chicken. It was great. It was unbelievable. It was
huh,
can't
huh.
can't shout out enough for Scott on that one. Um,
Nice.
but anyways, we'll get back to you and your salute your ports. And that was an in-state rally. When was the first time? I know Michigan, like at least back then, like it was like you could probably done a rally at least twice a
Every
month. It would,
weekend practically, yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
When was the first time you guys kind of got out? And you can count Chicago on this, but like the first time you really like traveled for a rally.
That was down to, Louisville for, Whiskey Business. I think it
Okay.
was Whiskey Business 10, or it was one of their last rallies.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that was our first real out of state trip, and we had such a good time. Had
Yeah.
such a great time. Yeah, yep. Camped in uh, Zach Bandit's backyard.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
yep.
Now I hear. Now you guys, now you talked about your performance stuff and trying pipes,
Mhm.
trying carbs, and all this stuff. Um, when did you guys really kind of see the outside world's performance, if you will? Because like I hear stories, and I still respect the hell out of them, but like I hear how fast the Bourbon Bandits were for building bikes back in the day. Was that
Mm.
um, when did you guys kind of see like, holy cow, these people are, or did you ever kind of have that eye opening moment, or like just impressed by other people's builds? I should say. I don't know. I'm trying to word it
Oh
weird.
yeah, definitely. You always had an eye out, excuse me, about what other people were building.
Mm-hmm.
You're always looking at, okay, now what is that bike? And then,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, it's got this on it and this on it, and so yeah, we would get a lot of our ideas from other bikes for sure,
Mm-hmm.
to to work on our own, to do
Yeah.
our own bikes. So, but yeah, as far as how fast people would get stuff together, I don't know if we really paid attention to that, because we
Yeah.
were, kind of looking at our own stuff. I do know that that rally and that Louisville one, three of us blew up our bikes the first night.
That's awesome. Isn't that so rewarding when you drag a bike
Yes,
across the
it is.
country and you blow it up? It's fucking great.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
You
yep.
haven't lived. It's like, but know what? I don't know about you guys, but like I did that in Richmond this summer. Like I rode all over town, and then I went to leave with the buzzards and shanked a piston. I'm like, oh my god! But like, and know what? I still wasn't bummed. Like,
Uh,
I don't know about you guys, but it's like, whatever. There's no bad
well,
times at the
yeah,
rally.
we got loaner bikes,
Yeah,
and yeah, we rode them around on, I think, on the Saturday night before he left. So yeah, it was they were real accommodating for us.
yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting.
um, at what point? I know you guys have really fallen in love with derby bikes. At what point did you guys kind of discover those?
That
Because I
was
mean,
Andrew. That
okay,
was Andrew. Yeah. He got the first derby, and it was a variant sport, and I remember riding it. I think actually the first time I rode it was at a Goshen rally, one of the last ones they had down there.
hmm,
And I rode it, and it was like, yeah, it's okay. Not that impressed.
yeah,
I'll stick to my Magnum.
yeah,
Because my Magnum was my main rally bike at that time. And so it's like, yeah, this is okay. But then somehow we decided that, these derbies are actually the ones to have.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I don't know, Andrew ended up with like 7 of them or something like that, and Dylan had few, and I had 4 or whatever. And like next thing you know, we're like, they're the derby guys.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I don't know, and they're not that. It's not that they're any easier to work on because they're a little more complicated than like an E50 for sure.
They're
There's a lot
still a
more
moped.
going.
They break just the same,
They
people. Like
they still do. They still do. Yeah. Although I think they do tend to be more bulletproof for some reason. I don't know why that is,
they're a
but
stout built bike, and like
yeah.
I finally kind of let it out to a few people, like because I would bust people's chops up here in Minnesota, like
Mm.
because like there's a lot of people with derbies up here. There's like always 5 to 6 on our rides. Like it just
Oh
there's a lot
wow.
of derbies, and like
Yeah.
I give people a hard time, like it's a scooter. Oh my goodness, they
Right.
and it's like
Right.
I don't care. Like I've gone on scooter rides. Okay, like I don't
Mm.
care what you ride, but like people actually thought I was serious, and finally I let it out to a guy. He's like, because I was talking to somebody who was thinking about selling this variant. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, shoot me a number out, and guy goes, this Luke who's a captain, he goes, I thought they were scooters. I'm like, Luke, I really don't give a shit if you haven't figured it out. Like,
Right. Right. It's
but
still a moped. It has
yeah,
pedals for the
yeah,
most part. My Revolution doesn't have pedals, but
yeah.
they accept it.
I
And
was so if I hadn't had like 4 other irons in the fire, that what was Dylan selling this winter, that like scooter looking derby,
the
that
DS50.
oh,
Yeah.
I wanted that. Like I had talked to Dylan, I'm like, is it sold? He's like, not yet. I'm like, oh,
That was actually mine, and then I
was it?
traded it to him for something else. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yep.
it's
Yep.
I think Jared from the Zeros ended up with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
maybe
He was
I'll
super happy.
oh
He
yeah.
was super happy.
Maybe I'll just have to keep feed Jared's beers one night, and I'll get a deal on it. No, Jared, I'm joking. I wouldn't take advantage of you like that, my guy. Um,
No.
but so you guys got into derbies, and like, how did a you hear some people, like I know there's a few dealers around, but like in the Midwest, I don't feel like they were naturally here. So like how did you guys start discovering? And I'm willing to be proven wrong. Anybody, if you can show me a dealership or something like that, like I've heard of a few dealers around, but like they weren't really popular in the US. How did you guys
Mhm.
even come across some weird Craigslist ads or Dose or
Um, I think Andrew actually bought one from 77 Mopeds.
okay.
He bought, I believe, he that might have been his first one that he bought from them. They had one and they had it on sale, and it actually came to his house eventually, So but yeah, mostly it's by word of mouth or Craigslist ads or a lot of marketplace,
Mm-hmm.
you
Right
know.
on.
Um, Sometimes word of mouth. People know that we like to buy them,
Yeah.
so a lot of times they'll ask us first before
Yep.
it goes out to the general public. But
That's kind of a problem to have when people start asking, "Hey, do you want to buy this?" It's like, and you're at that point, you're like, "I don't need it anymore," and they're like,
yep,
"Oh, it's a deal." And I think and we're all guilty of this. The
yeah,
deal. It's like it's
yeah,
not a deal. It's more crap that you're gonna put in your garage or your basement. It's like,
yeah,
ugh.
yeah. I
But
got a whole cargo trailer full of them out there. Not all derbies, but
no.
there's a few. But yeah, yeah, they tend to take over your life for
Hmm.
sure if you're
Yeah,
not
definitely,
careful.
definitely.
Mhm.
Um, so that Louisville's the first one,
Mhm.
first long distance. What's the
Yeah,
farthest you guys ever gone? And not, I'm not counting like Bakers or anything like that, but like, what's the furthest out you've ever traveled?
I think that's probably it.
Okay.
We were trying to do um like when we were really going to the rallies, we were trying to do one out of state one a year.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it could be Ohio, it could
Ohio
be,
doesn't count. Come on.
well, it has to count for us. It's another state.
Yeah, yeah.
Chicago, which doesn't count
Yep.
either, but
No, that's, yeah, I'm just busting your
yeah,
chops.
yeah. So we try to do that. Um, and then it got to a point where it was logistically getting tougher
Mhm.
because um, a they were starting to get significant others,
Yep.
so that kind of put I don't want to say it put a damper on things because it doesn't. It
No.
doesn't. They're and they're both well they're all married, so and they all totally understand, and it's never been an issue like no you can't, like no you can't go or anything
Yeah.
like that. So I mean I have to ask my wife if I can go. So
Yeah, yeah. And
um,
and you guys are probably pretty good about it, like giving them plenty of notice. Not like
oh sure,
it's
yeah,
Thursday, I want to leave for a rally tomorrow. Like, yeah.
right, right, right. So that's usually not an issue. But yeah, and then so yeah, we're trying to do that for a while, and it was fun.
Mhm.
You know, you meet different people from different clubs and stuff like that. But we would always try to come back and do the core things like Kalamazoo. We do MCR. Um, we would try to do the the local things also. So and it like I said, a lot of times it gets pretty the schedule gets pretty filled up pretty
Yep.
quickly. And then you have our family vacations and stuff inside of those things. So yeah, it's gets busy after a while.
Oh yeah, it definitely can be, and you
Yeah,
pick and choose what you want to do. I mean,
that's
that's
exactly it. Yeah.
because I don't know. It seemed like in a 30-day period, that moped rally calendar all of a sudden just got
Oh yeah.
really full really quick, and it's like,
Yep.
and it seems like it's really loaded in the spring and really loaded in the fall. The fall's filling up quick, but it's
Hmm.
so it's
Hmm.
just like, I want to do this one. We'll see what my moped budget allows me to do.
Right. That's the other thing. Yeah. I mean, with the price of gas nowadays, you really got to be careful,
Yeah, well,
pick and
yeah.
choose. But
it,
it
it
is what it is. So
exactly, and that's the thing about it. It's like nothing I can do about it. Like,
that's right. That's right.
yeah,
You can't base your life upon that, or you'll never go anywhere. So
oh
yeah.
yeah, especially like especially people in the moped community. I think I say it every week. People are itching and just like
Oh. Mhm.
I've gotten to the point now where like I have to get out of state now, like once a month. I have to go drive for like 3 or 4 hours. Like it's just
Mm.
it's relaxing for me.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. So not to rush into this part of the story too quickly, but what when was the first time you guys did bakers last year?
Mhm.
And when was the first time you guys even thought about doing it? Because there's the
Uh,
iteration. The first iteration was pinball, obviously.
yeah.
And did you
Yeah.
guys ever think about doing one of those, or?
I think we had seen it, um, but really didn't really consider it a whole lot because it's a major time commitment.
Mm-hmm.
For to take a week off for that is hard when you have families and stuff that rely on your to have your time for other vacations.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a major time commitment. Um, I think that when we saw that it was going to be like near us, is that was the main thing. That
Mm-hmm.
was when I think, and it was mostly Andrew and Dylan were mostly like, yeah, I think we can do this. And it's like, okay, well, I'm taking my Harley, so I'll be happy. I'll drive. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's kind of how that worked out. Is that we just decided to go, and then the next thing was like, okay, we're gonna build a bike. It's like, okay, so, and that's where that baker's bike started coming around.
Okay. And so? What was your initial thought of all of this? Was it like you guys are nuts? You guys, it's
Well, yeah, that's a like, yeah, you're not supposed to ride that far on a moped. It's just
no.
no, they're not
And
made
this,
for that.
no.
Yeah, they're not made for that. But they're surprisingly reliable, um, pretty
If you're,
much.
yeah, if you're not twisting them to like 9,000 RPMs and
Right, right, right. Well, if you have them geared properly and everything, and you know, um, the baker's bike and it was Dylan did a lot of the fabrication on that. But and we all chipped in parts and things like
Mhm.
that. But he did a lot of the actual fab work on it because it was in his barn. So
Mhm.
um, that makes the difference if it's you just walk out there and you can mess around with it. But um, it I lost my train of thought there.
Oh, no worries. I was gonna ask you,
Whoops.
like, so you guys got the bike together, and
Mhm.
it was you three who did it. It was, yeah, it was
Yeah,
you, Dylan, and Andrew, correct?
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
what were some of the challenge like you like my little interactions I've had with you? Like, you seem to be very like just go with the flow, very,
Mhm.
mild manner. At least, and I realize you're a dad, you can have the stern side and all that stuff, like, and you're human.
Yeah.
But was there any like challenges where like you guys were like almost at each other's throat, or like you guys like was there what was that experience like going through that with your two boys? Because like obviously it's challenging. I don't care how well you get along with people, like that that's got I can only imagine how draining it is mentally, physically, spiritually, all that stuff. Like how was that dealing with that?
Honestly, I don't think we ever argued at all.
That's awesome.
We the boys all get along great, which is surprising for for families nowadays or
Hmm.
anything. So yeah, I think the only time that I think we came close to throwing in the towel on that Baker's is when we were on the side of the expressway and that the bike just wouldn't go. It was the day after it poured down rain. It ran all day just fine in the rain, and the next day it just would not go.
Okay.
So it was spit and sputter, and then Andy pulled off on the shoulder, and it's like because I was following with Dylan, and it's like they tore that thing down, tore the whole top end off, put it back on, took the ignition off, did this, did that, and finally got it going. And it ended up being the CDI box was waterlogged.
Okay.
So once they got that thing going, they took off. But that was probably the closest that we came to putting the bike in the trailer.
Hmm.
And it was like, I think we can do this. Let's just not throw it in yet. We got time. We got
Hmm.
all day. We got all night.
Yeah.
So and I think then we kind of stood back and calmed down a little bit, but yeah, it was there was never really any. I mean, I would cook breakfast and dinner, so I was like the cook, and then because they were thrashing on the bike, so we
Yep.
would get to the next stop, they'd thrash on the bike, we'd set up the tent, I'd cook food, they'd eat, we'd go to bed, get up, repeat.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was quite an experience. I really, really enjoyed it, and I'd certainly do it again. Certainly do it again.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like everybody was asking Dylan, "Are you gonna do this year?" No, like I think he still got some PTSD from it. But
That's possible too, but I think his wife wants to do a different vacation this year.
yeah, yeah,
So
which is totally understandable.
totally understandable. Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, I kept on telling everybody all year, like, I know the year I do it, it's gonna be a rib on me that they're gonna freaking drive, just do the entire state of South Dakota. They're just gonna, and turns out some of the route does go through South Dakota, but it goes through the
Mhm.
2% that's cool. It's through the Badlands and by the
Yeah.
faces and
Yeah.
all that. So,
Oh
um,
yeah. 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 I mean, we definitely took a hard look at it this year. Um, and I think Andrew said that it's like, yeah, it's not that far to get there, but it's a 13-hour drive to come home. It's like, oh.
I think it's more, well, it's, starts in Nebraska and it ends
Mhm.
in Portland. Yeah, Portland.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
How far is that Portland to Michigan for you guys?
I don't know.
It's gotta
It
be
was
more
too
than
far.
13 hours. It's gotta be more than 13 hours to get home. Like,
Yeah, maybe. I
it's,
know it was a long time. It
yeah,
was just like,
it's
yeah,
probably 13 hours to get there for you guys. Cause like
maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
it's 10
Yeah.
hours for me in
Okay.
Minnesota. And like, I want to thank Mars very much because I had a 5 hour drive, maybe 6, and
Mm.
then he changed the route. So love you, Mars. Anyways, um, and which is cool because I've got a few possibilities for Chase. I might do a
Mm.
cooperative thing, or I might
Okay.
have some people driving my car for me and just driving Chase
Mm.
for me. Some,
Sure.
and I'm not
Yeah.
gonna throw their name under the bus right now, but I really would like that option because I know they'll be testing for Bonneville in the Salt Flats, like starting the 5th of July.
Okay.
So
Huh.
I would love to go see just I know the two-stroke stuffing guy isn't going to be there, but like I would love to just be out there while they're testing for land speed records. I think that'd
Oh
be
yeah.
cool as
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Little off topic. My neighbor set a land speed record out there last year on a Suzuki motorcycle.
that
Yeah,
is
I
so
think it was
awesome.
under 100 cc class or something like
Hmm.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
It,
that
yeah. It was in. He got. Yeah. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
there's actually a guy in St. Paul, and we can talk about whatever you want to at this point. I don't care, but like there's a guy in St. Paul, and I've got to go back to his shop, and we didn't do any numbers or anything like that, but
Mhm.
I was just riding my moped, and this was at the start of Corona, like probably like a month into lockdown and everything. When I just said screw it and got out and start riding, and I know it's land speed record cars look like the varieties of them, and this is a vintage looking one, and I saw it on a lift in an old
Mm.
gas station. I'm like, what the? And I did a quick UE and turned around and like this gentleman probably about your age like kind of popped his head out. I'm like, what? And this looks like the facade is really weird. I'm not going to say where
Huh.
it is in St. Paul, but like it looks like basically like an abandoned building from the
I'll be
outside.
darned. Yeah. I'll
And
be
then
darned.
like you open up the garage doors and it's like, Bridgeport mill and lathe and like just the nicest tool chest cabinets, and just he's got a 36 Ford. I mean, just awesome,
Huh.
awesome, awesome setup. And like we sat in BS a bit, but like he was like 10 feet. He's like, I'm practicing social distancing. I'm like, dude, I totally respect that. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
he thought I was his neighbor because his neighbor had his two-stroke motorcycle, and like just sat there and BS for a bit, and like never have stopped back since. Good, just because like I didn't know where he was with the
Oh,
Rona and
right.
whatnot, and just trying
Right.
to
Right.
respect that
Right.
boundary. But yeah, now that things have kind of lightened up a bit, I'll have to definitely stop back and just talk to him some more. But I
Oh,
haven't
yeah.
been out. I haven't been to the Salt Flats since I was like 14 years old, and like
Huh.
I was
Yeah.
just there on we're driving through on a family vacation, and I always tell people, imagine, at least from the Midwest, imagine the brightest snowy day ever times about 2 or 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I've never been. It's on my bucket list eventually, but
Hmm.
sometime when we're out in that area.
Yeah, it's a Utah's a trip because I still remember this. So, in the Midwest or anywhere in the country, like they have like Animal Crossing signs.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in Utah, I think it was Utah, and it doesn't matter. It would be like we'll say deer crossing 2,000 feet, 1,500. It'd slowly work its way down. Then it'd be like deer crossing, and they actually have fences on their highways, and
Huh.
like it'd be just a herd of elk or deer just crossing this 2-lane highway, and
Wow.
my sisters and my mom and I are like, "What the? This is." But
Huh.
so you guys did Bakers. What did you guys formally place or?
Fifth place.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
Like
Fifth place.
anybody, it doesn't even matter the placing. Like if I can get a bike together this year, and I just want to be able to finish with no
Right.
DNFs. Like
That was the
that's the
main
goal.
goal. That was the main goal, was just to finish. Yeah.
Hmm.
That was it. And it was kind of ironic that that bike would not start. Once he turned it off and got there, it didn't run again.
Hmm.
So,
it
yeah.
was it was done, I guess. You guys
Yeah.
ended up having to rebuild the motor in a campground, didn't you?
Yep. Yep. They totally tore it all down and put new bearings and seals in it and put it all back together. Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
How
Yeah, that was interesting.
yeah. What made you guys decide to do that? Did you feel the crank or something, or?
Yeah, the crank was like having a well, the bearings went bad, so the crank was wobbling all over the place, and it ate up the power dynamo that he was had on there for the ignition, and it wobbled so much that it chewed the inside of the stator out. So
Oh
yeah,
wow.
it kept the mount for that power dynamo. It kept breaking the holes, like where you screw it to the case. You
Mm-hmm.
kept having to turn that to put different screws to put the screws in a different spot
Wow.
because it kept cracking the aluminum mount. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow.
And I don't know if he had um, a tachometer on that, so I don't know what kind of RPMs he was actually running. It'd been kind of nice to know, like when he was at 45 miles an hour, what kind of RPMs are you turning on this thing? And I don't believe he had. I can't remember if there was a tack on it or not. I don't think so. If there was, I don't ever remember asking what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
I've actually had it in Hobbit cases where I've wallowed out the bearing
mhm.
journals, and it's like,
It did that too to one of the case sides, and he had to like. I think Jordan had some kind of stuff you put in there, and it like glued the bearing brace into the case.
that's what I was gonna
So
say. Just load her up with like
yeah,
some red Loctite and
Loctite.
send it.
Yep, yep. I think he had some type of bearing stuff. But yeah, and then I think he ended up by the time he got to the end of the thing, it was doing the same thing again.
Hmm.
So
I mean,
yeah, I don't
all
know if
those
it was.
bikes were pretty shot, we'll say, by the time you guys got to the finish line.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
how long? And I know you guys are a very tight knit family, but like once you got home, did you guys like, okay, I don't want to see you for like a few days at least, or was it kind of status quo with
Uh,
everybody?
oh, I think we were all fine, and we
Yeah,
all went back to work.
yeah,
So I might have seen him the next weekend or something like that. But yeah, uh, no, it was we
yeah.
just that's not a big issue that we don't see too much of each other.
Okay,
I wouldn't put it that way.
yeah,
So in fact, I
yeah.
always wonder about it. So if I don't hear from him very often, I'm calling him up saying what's going on.
Oh,
Yeah, and
that's the way my
we do
family is.
yeah, and we do have a Moped Brothers group me.
Hmm.
So and we have my family on it. All the boys are on it. My wife's on it, so she can keep track of what we're doing. Although
Yeah.
she probably never looks at it. A couple other guys that are in our group that we don't see as often, but so just to keep everybody, informed of what's going on, and that's, I mean, Andrew just posted somebody in Albany had like a Magnum for $250, and their kids are right away. How are we going to get out there to get that? So it is a never-ending thing. It's a
Yeah,
never-ending
the bug
thing.
definitely hasn't left in my seat. That's awesome. What does your wife think of all this? Like, and let me ask you this: what did you guys like? You guys are awesome, and I have such respect for your family. What did you guys have a thing like this before mopeds? Because like
Um,
mopeds seems like a really binding force in your family.
it is. But yeah, I guess we've always been pretty tight
Mhm.
knit.
Yeah.
Um, and I think this definitely did bring personally me closer
Hmm.
to the boys because I think before we really started the building of mopeds and things like that, I mean, I've always been mechanical with like change the oil in my cars and do this and that, brakes, whatever, mechanical stuff. And then I've tried to impress that upon the boys too. Um, Levi got it right away. Andrew and Dylan are kind of like, whatever, and it's like you can save yourself a lot of money by doing this own work. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. But then when the mopeds came along and then we started to tinker with them, that's when I think things really started to roll as far as, um, I could impress on more of like this is how you could do it. Then we're talking more back and forth. Well, how do you
Mhm.
fix this? And what do you do with this? And get the manual out. We went through a lot of manuals at first, and now we really don't use them anymore, but
Yeah.
we still have 'em. So, but
They
yeah,
who knows, they
that
might be
was
worth a lot of money with some people, those
right,
manuals.
right, right,
Um,
right.
what's the favorite? I know it's like picking your favorite boy, but like, what's your favorite bike you've owned for mopeds at least?
Hmm.
Because they all do different
Um,
things. I get it. I get it.
they do, they do. Um, I think I kind of break them down by like what's my main rally bike.
Hmm.
My main rally bike is my Revolution,
Okay.
my Derby Revolution. I mean, and I bought that um, from Ryan Nash down in New Orleans.
Okay.
There's a funny story that goes with that, but
Oh,
but then my mag,
why
what
don't you
was
tell it? Why don't you tell it?
that?
Just because
Well,
it's story time.
it is. So when I turned 60, my wife had a surprise trip for me. She was like, "We're gonna when you turn 60, we're gonna go on a trip." It's like, I'm not gonna tell you where we're going, and it's like, okay. And so she figured out this trip, and I told my boss at work, yeah, and she kind of gave me a sort of a timeline, but I really don't know when that it's gonna happen. And I told my boss, yeah, my wife's planning this trip for me, but I don't really know when it is, and I'll need, like a few days off here and there for like a long weekend. And he's like, yeah, what, no problem. So I come home one day from work. I'd stopped and gotten my hair cut, came home. And my wife's like, where in the hell have you been? Because I had my phone off while I was at getting my hair cut.
Yeah.
And she's like, we got to go there. We're leaving right now to go to the airport. And it's
Oh
like,
wow.
oh, okay. Well, what should I pack? Do I need a bathing suit?
Yeah.
Maybe. You
Maybe.
should take one. You might want one because I don't know where we're going. Not a
Yeah.
clue. Not a clue. And so we get in the pack up my stuff. We leave. And on the way, she's like, well, we have to stop at Andrew's house on the way to the airport and drop this tool off. And it's like, okay, whatever. So get to Andrew's house, and it's like she gets out of the car, goes in, and then they come back out and they're carrying suitcases. And I'm like, what's going on? It's like,
Yeah.
they're going with us. And it's like,
Okay.
oh,
Awesome.
okay. So we all go to the airport and we're going, and she's like, yeah, I'm not telling you where it's at. I'm probably, maybe I'll blindfold you going through security. I'm like,
Oh
no, I'll end
Jesus.
up in that room.
I don't think TSA looks well upon that. I don't care where you're going or who
Right,
you are.
right. But the TSA people were cool with it because the ticket was on my phone, and she's like, I'm kind of explained to them what was going on, and they were very cordial and
Yeah.
not an issue. They didn't shout out where it was, so got through security and stuff. Still don't know where I'm going.
Oh geez. Yeah.
Go- Going, and we're walking down to the gate, and my son Joshua calls me and says, hey, you guys leave yet? And it's like, no, no. And she's like, well, he doesn't know where he's going yet. And he's like, oh, okay, okay. So okay, so we walk down to the gate, and I look, and it's like, we're going to New Orleans. And it's
Awesome.
like, that's what I thought. Yeah, I was like, that's great. So get on the plane, fly there, get off the plane, and get off the plane. We're walking down the thing, and we turn the corner, and here's Joshua and his husband. And like, who else is going to be around the corner? So, yeah, it was a great trip. And before that, to back the story up a little bit, before that, Dylan and I had worked out a deal with Ryan Nash. He had two mopeds for sale. He had that Revolution, and then he also had a Variant Sport with a Start 5 on it.
Okay.
So we worked out a deal. It's like, okay, well, we're gonna buy them, and sight unseen.
Yeah.
So then, uh, we got to New Orleans, and it's like I said to Andrew, man, maybe we should try to get a hold of him, see where he's at,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
go look at him. And my wife's like, yeah, 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 you should do that. So
That's so
I'll
awesome.
called him up, and he was literally like maybe less than a half an hour from where we were staying.
Okay.
So we made the arrangements. Andy and I went there, rode the bike around,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
then came back and uh, finished up because we were on Bourbon Street while we're talking to him,
Oh,
walking
dude,
down
that's
there carrying drinks and stuff. So
yeah,
yeah, it
yeah.
was quite the trip. Got to
Now
ride
was
it, and then go ahead.
no, I was gonna say was Ryan in New Orleans
Yes.
proper? Okay.
Yep. 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 So yeah, we got back, and I think about a month later we got the bikes
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
from did a U ship or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great thing.
How much did you get to ride mopeds in New Orleans?
Just that once.
Okay.
Just that once. Rode it around the block. And
Okay.
Andy rode it and he said, dang, that thing's fast. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's mine.
Yeah. That's awesome. I absolutely and it sounds like you really enjoyed New Orleans.
Oh, it was a phenomenal trip.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It
Yeah.
was a lot of fun.
I fell in love with that city. Like
Mm.
there's just some character to that city that I don't know. It's awesome. And it was so much fun to ride mopeds in it when Smog and Mono had their ride over Halloween. Yeah,
I
I
couldn't
can't.
imagine riding like a lot downtown or something because there was a lot of people and a lot of traffic.
Well, I think it was a combination. We did kind of we went through the French Quarter a bit, and it kind
Okay.
of was eh.
Hmm.
It was kind of tough going, but like for the most part, we stayed on the peripheral of like
Okay.
Bourbon and all that. So like we
Yep.
stayed away from those areas, but like
Okay.
it was beautiful riding. It was technical because like the roads aren't the best down there, so you really
Mhm.
had to kind of watch your game, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't thank Mark enough. Who Mark from Raleigh was going, and he brought a bike, a loaner for me, and I'm like,
Mm. Mm.
so it was just all worked out for me. Um, but that's so awesome. You got those bikes. You got those bikes down New Orleans. You got to test them
Yeah.
down there.
Yeah. Who would have thought? That
Yeah.
was quite the thing
But
because I
that's
was ready to drive
mopeds.
down there and get it. I was
That's
like, hell,
mopeds.
it's
That
only
shit
15
always
hours.
happens.
Right.
Yeah. It's
Right.
that weird connections like that always happens in mopeds. I don't know. It's
Mm.
just
Mhm.
you hear it's uncommon for a lot of people, but you hear that stuff, weird stories like that all the time.
Oh
I
yeah.
just happened
Yeah.
to be in town and they were here and whatever.
Right. Right. Yep. Yep. Yeah. And I still talk to Ryan every once in a while. He asks me a question or I'll ask him something about the revolution or whatever. So yeah. But getting back to my favorite, I think my Magnum is uh, one that I had done a lot of mods to.
Mhm.
So that was the one it's got a 80cc. It's a Metro kit that was converted to a Reed kit. So
Okay.
it's like a Autista, I guess is what it is. Um, and I made it water cooled it's got one of the 77 aluminum heads on there that are
Okay.
like unobtainium now. So
Yeah.
um and I fabricated a pull start for it on a ZA50. It's a ZA motor.
Okay.
So and my achievement with that is I've never seen another one. In
Yeah.
fact, you can't buy them. They don't make them for a ZA motor.
Yeah.
So it was just it was a engineering thing that I wanted to give a shot to.
Yeah.
So
So it's like a lot of us, it's always the challenge,
yeah,
can I? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. I
that's
think
all.
we have more fun building, you
Mhm.
know, and then you get to the end of the build and it's like, okay, well, what's next?
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Next.
it's I go back and forth, like, I love to ride, and, like, I've got
Mm,
my 2 main bikes all done for the year, so, like, those are
mm,
now I'm trying to work on that Grand Prix I got, and then also that Baker's bike, so,
right, right.
yeah, it's but it's all hands on deck on that Baker's bike right now.
Mm, hmm.
What is your guys's, what's your at least your kinda moped/rally plans for 2022 now that it kinda seems like things are really opening up? I ran into it was so good to see you and the boys at the swap meet.
Yeah,
Um,
that was fun. Yeah.
I'll talk to you later after the podcast about a purchase I gotta get from you.
Okay.
Um, but it was great to see you guys. And other than that, like, what's your 2022 plans? Do you have anything other? I think we talked a little bit about some of them.
Yeah, well, I think well, we're all registered for the Nashville rally, the Daggers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Andy and Dylan and I are going to go for that. Um, I haven't. We really talked about because we went to the Wizards a
Mm-hmm.
few years ago. I think it was just before COVID. The Gettysburg rally, and God, that was so much fun. And I'm the Civil War buff, so riding through that was just amazing.
Yeah.
So except it's like you zip by the monuments, like zoom, there's another one, zoom, zoom. You never get off to look,
Mm-hmm.
So fortunately I've seen it before, but we talked about maybe going back to Pennsylvania. Haven't really sat down and took a hard look at the dates.
Mm-hmm.
There's really not any that are super close to us, and right now as of
Yeah.
yet. So because
Yeah. I.
MCR kind of quit having them,
Mm-hmm.
or so.
Well, they're doing, and I don't know if I should talk about this or not, but MCR posted it. They're doing them and the Zeros are doing their bike race thing,
Yep.
and
Yeah,
I'm
this
really
Sunday. Yeah.
excited. Yep, I'm
Mhm.
really excited about that because I needed something to do that weekend,
Oh,
so
great.
I'll be out there for that.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I don't think I own a 50cc bike though.
I told him I'm not gonna bring a 50. I'm gonna probably just bring my DR Hobbit and just cruise. Like,
Right, right.
yeah, yeah. I own 50. I own a 50. No, I got my two. Yeah, I got my Chow.
Hmm.
That's not running right now because I got to anyways.
I think
But
my
yeah,
wife's Maxi is the only one that's actually 50cc still.
yeah. Actually, I got a 50cc right there and there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
See?
that bike came from the Zeros from the swap meet. That red Maxi behind me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just seeing kind of what you guys had all planned, or what do you have any builds you're working on right now, or are you just kind of staying trying to keep things maintained and status quo?
I personally do not have any builds going on. I redid a Variant Sport. That was my COVID build
Mm-hmm.
when I was off work. Um, that was the last bike that I completed. I haven't even finished tuning it yet because I just kind of moved on to other things at the time. Um, Dylan's still working on the Baker's bike.
Okay.
Um, he had put a new he'd put a new crank in it and went to pull started and the crank broke in half.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I think I saw a post on that, like,
yeah. So in Treatland, I mean, they're really awesome and stood behind their products and stuff and sent them out a new crank and bearings and seals and stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, um, but him and his brother, or Dylan and his brother Levi, are working on an electric moped.
I saw that.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to say too much about it because that's their project.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be pretty interesting once they finish it because
Mhm.
it looks pretty dang cool.
Yeah, yeah. No, I saw Dylan was posting something and he had, like,
Mhm.
under his bench all blacked out. I'm like, "What's under the bench, Dylan?" And then I think he did post, like, a quick little snippet video of it, and,
Yep.
like, it's Dylan saying we don't have to get into it too much, but
Right,
I
right. I
think
don't want to steal
anything
his thunder.
yeah, anything that guy any of your boys do, like, I see just awesome rad stuff come out of your
Mm,
all their shops, which is fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, Greg, I wanted to have you on for a bit now and kinda reached out just yesterday because I generally keep a good calendar and things happen, and
Sure.
yeah, I can't thank you enough for coming on Second Chance, a Moped podcast.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
Everybody, thank you so much for the listens, likes, and keep those emails coming at secondchancemoped@gmail.com. And don't be afraid to ever hit me up at Second Chance Pod on Instagram, the Facebook groups, and all that stuff. Got all that covered. Greg will chit chat for a moment after the podcast, but I can't thank you enough for coming on Second Chance Moped Podcast. And don't forget, Greg, mopeds are dumb.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thank you.